Hi guys, I'm Avery Akkineni. I am the president of Vayner3, which is a Web3 consultancy focused on helping enterprises navigate this new world. So I've been working for Gary for almost 5 years. I started in the core business, which is an advertising agency called Vayner and then I went to start Vayner in the Asia Pacific region, so in Singapore, Bangkok, Tokyo, and Sydney, and that was going very well. And then along comes the pandemic, and the pandemic drove all of us back to our apartments, and we were spending a lot of time at home. I was spending a lot of time at home. Gary, for the first time in his career, was spending a lot of time at home as well, not traveling, not doing his speeches, etc. And that gave us a lot of time to be thinking about what was happening next in consumer behavior. And in late 2020, we had dinner and we started to talk about what we thought was next. And Gary was very early into this idea of NFTs. In early 2021, he started to get far more interested in it. And he was interested in this in two ways. One, for us to develop a proof point for what he believed was going to be a huge opportunity. That became VeeFriends. And the second was actually to create a professional services business aimed at helping enterprises learn everything that we were learning, and us sort of modifying the blueprint that we developed for VeeFriends and helping them launch programs that would be beneficial to their own businesses. So I would say we sort of co-created the idea together. We launched Vayner NFT in June of 2021, a month after VeeFriends, but within about 6 months, I felt that NFTs were only a tiny part of a much more significant ecosystem and movement, which was Web3. So I told Gary, I'm going to change the name. What do you think? And he said, I think it's great. Let's do it. And then we decided to change the name this past summer to Vayner3 to sort of broaden the purview of what we're able to offer to our partners as consultants, whether that's platform related, crypto, DeFi, metaverse, or beyond. VeeFriends is all about NFTs as sort of a delivery mechanism. The actual sort of core brand behind VeeFriends is, in the digital world and the physical world through things like sneakers and toys and so many other sort of physical manifestations. And each person who owns a Series 1 VeeFriend automatically gets access to 3 years of a very special conference, which was hosted this past year in 2021 in May in Minneapolis, Minnesota. 10,000 people, 100% NFT ticketed. But that's really only the beginning for VeeFriends. VeeFriends is also developing IP, now has hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, in active talks around different other forms of mediums, from books to movies to TV shows. There's so much more that can be developed there, and then of course into the physical line of business as well, really bringing VeeFriends to the world. So while it is all about NFTs as a delivery mechanism, there's a lot more to VeeFriends than NFTs. You get a lot of different perks, everything from the gift goats. We did a really fun partnership where all 555 gift goats, which is a special character, got these customized bottles of Johnny Walker. They've gotten all different types of perks. Same thing for the accountable anteaters who got a 3-pack of vitamins. There are all these different perks sort of based on which characters you hold. I think what Web3 offers to consumers is the next era of the internet that's far more equitable with aligned incentives between creators and collectors. I think that's a big deal because what we saw in Web 2 was the vast majority of value created through this whole internet ecosystem went to 2 companies, and it was all based on digital advertising. And in this sort of next iteration of the internet, and I do think it's an iteration, we're not changing the internet starting from zero, we're building upon what's been built before, but in this next iteration of the internet, I think that consumers have the opportunity to really actively own the things that they're creating and participating in this sort of digital world. Being able to sell or trade it or to hold it or to have that provenance, I believe is a transformative moment. I think the real value for creators is being compensated fairly for their work and also over time. The idea of an embedded royalty in the smart contract, which allows creators to continue to benefit in perpetuity from the sale of their creations, is fundamentally a profound difference, and it's a profound economic opportunity for creators in the long term. In the shorter term, I believe there's an opportunity for creators to align their growing fan bases with an opportunity to sort of be a part of their career journey. So if I was an emerging or young artist, I'd be spending a lot of time trying to cultivate my fan base as aligned sort of these Web3 enthusiasts, because they can really support, maybe own part of my work, maybe advise, maybe be on some DAO council. There's like a cultural tie to that as well. Gary's a poster child for social media. He's very active across many different channels, and some of those like ad embedded and some not. I think that was less of a motivating factor for Gary because he's had so much success in his career already. His desire was more to launch a net new business that was outside of just himself. You notice looking at the VeeFriends, none of them feature Gary's face, and that's for a very strategic reason. It allows there to be another platform created that talks about the values that Gary's espoused in his content for the last decade plus, without that message needing to be delivered from him personally. Out of his 20 million followers, I'm sure most of them do not have a crypto wallet and are not playing in the crypto world. And one thing that Gary's been amazing at over the course of his career is bringing his community along with him when he gets into new hobbies, whether it's card collecting or his garage sales or now NFTs. So when Gary gets a new hobby, the Vayner Nation gets a new hobby. And he's been amazing at galvanizing people to care about things they didn't care about before. I think that's absolutely happened in the world of NFTs. And the VeeFriends team from Andy and May to Adam Rips spent a lot of time personally onboarding, hand-to-hand combat, Zoom calls, walking people through it one by one. Gary's community so they could participate in this sort of business he was launching. I'll give two different approaches for non-Vayner clients maybe. Maybe we can give like three approaches. Okay, so I think the Nike team had a prolific acquisition of Artifact, and they saw those $3 million of digital sneakers fly off the shelves, and they acquired Artifact very early before most of their consumers cared at all about NFTs. I think they did the buy model, and they've been very successful. They've been the most successful brand in NFTs by a country mile because they bought and acquired that company. Second one that I think is important is Adidas. So Adidas partnered. So they sort of went co-marketed with G Money and Punks Comics and the Bored Apes, sort of four-way split to co-market one project called Into the Metaverse. And based off that, they've now developed this Web3 studio team at Adidas with sort of the clear objective of being self-funding in its own sort of business unit. So I would say they partnered, and then I would flip to, let's say Budweiser. So these are, I think, the three most, definitely in the top 5 of most successful companies who've done this. And they really they took their own community, educated them about NFTs, and sort of built a team that has brought along their fan base across a lot of the initiatives that they already have. Instead of going into a whole direction that's sort of Web3 oriented, they more tried to make it mesh with what their brand stands for already, like World Cup sponsorships, MLB games, some of the things that they already stood for. So I think you can buy, you can partner, you can build. All three strategies can work, but those are kind of different approaches that I've seen brands taking. The approach I've seen that doesn't work is drop in and drop out. I think that it isn't effective at creating any lasting brand impact or any economic opportunity. There's a company called Party Round that I think is pretty interesting that allows people to sort of contribute into a project and sort of do group buys. Spike Lee is a legend, and we actually had him at VCon as a guest to talk about sort of crowdfunding. StonerCast is another really interesting use case. People who which is founded by Mila Kunis, that sort of used crowdfunding to launch this film. I will say in the entertainment space, we have yet to see a company really break through and do so with broad success. There have been sort of small wins, but nothing transformative. I think of an immersive digital world that allows you to bring your identity across platforms. So early, nobody even knows what the metaverse is. People conflate the term with a lot of different things, from a decentralized open metaverse, like what Punk 6529 is talking about building, to a Roblox, to a Meta. I think there's still a lot of blue sky to define what the metaverse is, and also a lot of opportunity to create one unified experience for consumers. One of the reasons you haven't seen us do a lot in the metaverse is it's actually a place that we think is coming, but not here quite yet. We think NFTs are here. We think NFTs for loyalty, for ticketing, for art, those are very obvious use cases right now that are like right in front of us. And I think we like to be a mix of practical and also aspirational. Practical of like where people are today. We've seen it work for sports, we've seen it work for culture, we've seen it work for fashion. The fashion industry is by far sort of leading the pack here. So we have that sort of practical sense of what's really hit to date. We've got a very busy Q4, so please follow along at Vayner3. We do talk talk about several of our projects, and would love to have you guys see if anything strikes your fancy.